Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining. May I request everyone to keep their mics on a mute, please? Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you all for joining. I request you settle in and just a quick hygiene rules. Please mute your mics and keep yourself on video off mode unless and until you are speaking as a speaker. So, can I request everyone to put their mics on mute, please? Thank you. And we're going to start very shortly. I do see we do have all our speakers on board under one roof. Sorry, under one link. One roof, we don't know. when the next session will come, when all of us will be under one roof. So we'll be starting shortly. Just keep yourself on mic mute and video off mode, please.
Hello.
आप सबसे रिक्वेस्ट है कि अपने माइक प्लीज म्यूट मोड और वीडियोस ऑफ मोड पे रख लीजिए. A very good evening, everyone. Just one more minute and we'll be starting. Can I request everyone except the speakers to keep their video off mode and the mic on mute, please? And can I have speakers on screen if the speakers who are presenting today as per the agenda? Yes, I can see you. Uh, I, so, hi, good evening, welcome. and I'll be your voice of God today. Won't be showing myself on the screen for obvious reasons known to my friends today, but welcome everyone to another exciting webinar session hosted by British Business Group Delhi and team who curated these series in collaboration with Chevening Alumni India, Association of British Scholars, Confederation of British Industries, and UKIBC. My name is Pankaj Malhotra, and as a co-founder, I take an immense pleasure in introducing Astitwa, being real in the virtual, to all of you. Welcome, welcome again. Astitwa is a platform where we collaborated spiritual understanding and cyber wellness with current concerning issues like gender inequality, sustainability, and COVID impact, which is impacting us all. The necessity of this program has awoken from the need to fit in beautifully in the new normal by some visionaries and beautiful young leader minds like Dr. Meena Mahajan, Mr. Amit Dubey, Ms. Smita Jaikar, Ms. Kanishtha Dhankar, Mr. Triveni Singh, and Ms. Rika Roy. But before I proceed, I would like I'd like to extend our thanks to our dear friend and treasurer with BBG Delhi and Vice President of Chevening Alumni India, Tarun Singhal, for his support and guidance from curation to execution for these Astitwa series. And also another friend and business mentor for us, Mr. Sanjeev Goyal, who has worked closely with the execution team for the last few weeks of the series. And hi, Jennifer. I see you on screen. A quick introduction for our first speaker. I would like to invite Jennifer Fagan, pardon me if I'm not pronouncing it correct, to share preface and focus on British High Commission initiatives on gender equality charter. Ms. Fagan is the first Secretary Trade and Investment and lead India Gender Network at British High Commission. All over to you, Jennifer.
Thank you so much. Yeah, so hi, I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Megan, very close to the pronunciation, it's a difficult one. And I am, as you say, First Secretary Trade and Investment at the British High Commission in Delhi. I've been out in Delhi for about 15 months now and I have 18 more to go. Even with the last 6 months, it's been an absolute pleasure to be here in India, and I've loved my time so far. It feels like a real privilege to be able to live, work and travel here. So yes, it's been a real pleasure to be out here and working on some really important topics out here in India. Alongside my trade work that I do, I am also the chair and champion for gender diversity within the British High Commission. As you will all know, gender equality brings huge benefits to our economies and societies, especially as we build back better after COVID-19. And the UK and India are already working together in many areas on this shared global challenge. Together with our partners across India, we are now striving to lead by example by taking action to promote gender equality within our workplaces and beyond. And long-term change, which gender equality is, starts with small steps. So I'm here today to talk to you about one of those small steps that we would like to work with you on. We would like to ask you to sign up to our charter, which has 5 broad commitments to empower people of all genders to break down gender norms and together build a gender equal society. So what are these commitments? What are we asking you to do? So first of all, we're asking you to lead, to use our platforms to amplify the voices of women leaders within our organisations and beyond. So for the British High Commission, for us, that means empowering women leaders through our networks and programmes, supporting Indian partners to tackle gender equality issues, and ensuring women leaders are in visible decision-making roles within our workplace. The second thing we're asking you to do is to represent. We ask you to seek gender diverse representation when hosting and participating in panels and roundtables. So for us, that means aspiring for all of our activities that we host and panels or roundtables we participate in to be gender balanced. Thirdly, we're asking you to embed gender norms, gender equality, to strive to include gender analysis in the design and implementation of your activities. So for us, that means continuing to include gender analysis in the design, implementation and evaluation of all programmes we fund, and working to embed gender positive activity across our organisation. Fourthly, we're asking you to make our organisations great places for people of all genders to work and ensure our internal policies fulfil that aim. So for the British High Commission, for us, that means building staff awareness on gender inclusion challenges through learning programmes, including on transgender people and on the negative gender norms that men face, ensuring zero tolerance on sexual harassment in our workplaces, and reviewing internal procedures, including staff recruitment. And the last thing we're asking you to do is to mobilise, to work as a collective of gender equality champions, developing and sharing best practice to together implement this charter. So again, for the BHC, what does that mean in practice for us? That means convening like-minded partners across sectors in India to drive change on gender equality, share best practice and amplify each other's positive initiatives. So to summarise, the 5 things we're asking you to do is to lead, to represent, to embed, to include and to mobilise gender equality within your workspaces. So in practice, what does signing up to this charter actually mean? Well, it would mean featuring publicly in our publicity materials as a signatory to the UK and India Network Gender Equality Charter, and more generally as one of our partners on gender equality. It means becoming a member of a new cross-sectoral forum for UK and India partners who are driving change on gender equality in India, with more targeted sectoral events that will follow. And it also means sharing with us some of the actions that your organisation is taking beneath each of the 5 commitments in the charter that I just mentioned. So we would be absolutely delighted to feature signatories on our digital media channels to showcase the actions that you're taking to promote gender equality over the course of the next year. We are planning to launch this charter publicly early next month, shortly after the International Day of the Girl. And I would be really delighted if some of you would feature as our partners on this important issue in that launch. So I will arrange for a copy of the charter to be sent to everyone that's on the call today. And please do reach out to me if you have any questions or if you'd like to participate. We're hoping to sign up as many people as possible. And I think that all of you being on this call is a great first sign that you're interested in this really important issue. So I'll stop there. Thanks so much for listening. Any questions, I'm happy to take now at the end. Thank you so much.
Wow, thank you, Jennifer, for such an insight over the work you and the team been doing. And for the same, I'm equally excited to introduce our speaker for today, Ms. Kanishtha Dhankar, former Miss India World 2011 supermodel, sustainability and gender equality advocate. Kanishtha is a dynamic personality. She loves to travel, lives her life through experience. Wow, a yogi, an environmental activist, and a believer in community. Her philosophy, honesty, simplicity, and sincerity. She believes in making a positive impact and is forging a path as a change maker in a society. Let's hear from Ms. Dhankar on gender equality and sustainability. All over to you, Ms. Dhankar.
Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. Good evening. My name is Kanishtha. Firstly, I just want to thank all of you for being here on this Friday afternoon, for taking out your time and being here to, help us with this cause that's actually so dear to all of us. And as Jen said, this is definitely the first step. And I want to thank Astitva and also the BCC for having me on this platform. So without further ado, I'm going to share my screen with you and take you through a small keynote presentation that I have prepared for all of you today, hoping that this can be of some insight. Gender equality and why it matters. So we all understand that gender in itself is a term. But today I want to talk about gender biases and how that infiltrates into our society, into everything we do, into how decisions are made. Gender differences are taught. When a baby is born, I think it's hard to tell the sex of a baby if a baby was covered from the bottom down. So the only thing that sets someone apart from the other is their reproductive organs. What happens after that? What happens after a baby is born? Gendering happens in different ways. Gendering is taught. It could be family upbringing, it's how family values are, it's how someone's family values are. It could be the schooling or educational systems which support boy child getting education over girl child. It could be advertising, which propagates that, oh, a girl should only wear pink clothes and play with Barbie dolls, opposed to a boy play with guns and wear blue. It also could be socialization, or what we call engendering. It's how a child is molded, fit in certain spaces in society or into certain characters in society. Also, canalization, how attention is directed depending on the sex of a child. For example, a girl is always told to look pretty or smile or speak politely when she's a kid, and boys are taught otherwise. All of these things, all of these differences are taught to children. So this takes me to understanding gender biases. Here in this diagram, let's understand what gender-based sex selection means. For example, if a couple in India is planning to have a child, they prefer having a boy child over a girl child. And this is based on myths. For example, a boy child is better than having a girl child because he will eventually take care of his parents. Or a son will work for his parents, whereas a daughter will get married off and be sent to another's family.
Kanishta, can I break you in between? I think we are not able to see your presentation. Now we can. If you can present that now.
This time I've been talking and no one's been able to see anything. Okay, not a problem. Should I start again?
Absolutely welcome. Please, we would love to hear you again.
Oops. Or I could just share my screen this way. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Or I can just continue where I left off.
All over to you, whatever you feel comfortable.
So I was talking about gender-based selections, about why a family in India specifically prefers having a son over a daughter. And there's various reasons for that. It's believed in India that a boy is better than having a girl child because he will look after his parents when they're old, or that a son will provide for his parents, whereas a daughter gets married and gets sent off to another's home. There's also the image and power of the family because the son would carry forward the family name. And then there's this strange social stigma of a woman who gives birth only to girl child is of no use. But contrary to all of what we just heard, women and girls represent half of the world's population, therefore half of its potential. Gender equality, besides being a fundamental human right, is essential to achieve peaceful societies with full human potential and sustainable development. And moreover, it has shown that empowering women spurs productivity and economic growth. So here's a bit of a global overview. Out of 143 countries, out of 195 countries, 143 countries guarantee equality between women and men in their constitutions. Yet there's so much discrimination against women still. It's also because of laws and policies which haven't been inclusive of women in the past and still are not. There's gender-based stereotypes. For example, a woman is a homemaker and she can only fit into certain roles or achieve certain levels of success. And there's social norms and practices which just perpetuate, even though they're redundant in our society today. Here's a bit of an example about how discrimination comes into practice in day-to-day life. So for example, there's a newspaper that's hiring an editor, and both men and women are free to apply for the job. But the job description requires that the candidate must have served on all different news desks, for example, crime as well. The obstacle here that a woman would face is that there's another policy that prohibits women to serve on the crime desk due to the high risk of their safety. So as a result, no woman can actually meet the requirement of the job and thus not get the job. And this is just one small example. Now I want to come to India. Here, less than a quarter of women are in the labor force. And out of the quarter of these women, they are some of the poorest in the world. They earn less than 35% on average than men, even though women represent 49% of India's population. They only contribute 18% to its economic output. As you see in this graph, India is one of the lowest, it's actually the lowest as far as it comes to participation of women in the labor force compared to US, the China as well, and Russia, which is shocking because we are a huge population. And if women in Indian society contribute, then the GDP just goes higher and higher every year. The impact of COVID and women. It's estimated that the economic loss from women losing their jobs during the pandemic has been about $216 billion, which knocks off 8% from the country's GDP. There's also been other impacts due to the virus, which have actually worsened India's deep-rooted social inequities, an unsafe environment in many places with a girl being raped at an average of every 15 minutes, the burden of domestic responsibilities, which have kept women at home. There have been twofold rises in complaints of domestic violence. Also, experts warn that girls' education will be disadvantaged because boys will be preferred. The World Economic Forum's Global Gender Gap Index in 2020 ranks India 112 out of the 153 countries in offering equal opportunities to women and men, and that's not a really good place to be. Also, 330 million women and girls live on less than $1.90 a day, which is $140 a day. So you can imagine the struggle that these women and girls go through. That's also 4.4 more than men, 4.4 million more than men. Climate change has a disproportionate impact on women and children, and they are 4 times as likely as men to die in a disaster. Economic development and gender equality go hand in hand. Empowering women to participate equally in the global economy could add up to $28 trillion in GDP growth by 2025. You can see here in this graph, if we actually get more women in India to work in the Indian workforce, India could go up by 18% in its GDP by 2025. So societies with greater equality not only offer better socio-economic opportunities for women, but they also tend to grow faster. They also grow environmentally. They also have sustainability at the heart and at the root of their growth. Also, poverty levels reduce. Also, the World Bank found that in Latin America and the Caribbean, women played a critical role in the decline of poverty, with the female labor market income contributing to a 30% reduction in extreme poverty. And this is why taking gender into account matters when we're developing and implementing policy. Policies need to be inclusive of women. For many generations, law and order has been ruled by men and the patriarchal system that we followed, which somehow excludes women from main decision-making policies. So placing women at the heart of our global policy making will go a long way also towards achieving the 2030 UN Development Goals, and also the agenda of achieving gender equality and empowering all women and girls.
Hi, Kanishta. Sorry, I have to barge in again. The slides have got stuck. If you can move them to the current slide, what you are presenting.
What can you see? Sorry, Pankaj.
I can see that is why taking gender into account matters when developing.
That is correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is a slide. So probably you'll have to keep clicking the slides. They are not auto moving, and you'll have to bring it.
Sure.
Thank you.
Achieving gender equality also helps empower not just the gender equality goal, but also all the sustainable development goals. So this brings me to the end of my presentation, and it's a really simple message that we've all heard over and over again many times, but we need to be the change that we want to see in the world. I'm really happy that I could share this presentation with you today. And I want to come back to also what Jen said. I want to again point towards the charter that the BCC and BCC is running, so that we can all be part of this movement in any little way that each of us can contribute towards there being some form of equality, especially in India, is going to take us a long way, because I think all of the effort that's needed to bring change in our society is through education. So as we educate ourselves, we educate maybe 5 people around us who educate 10 people around them. And so I want to thank you all for listening, for being here today, and for giving me the opportunity to speak to all of you and sharing my thoughts. Thank you. Pankaj, over to you.
Thank you so much, Kanishta, for such an insightful session, and to bring in all that data in front of us. That's really something to look at and understand that we have to be the change, what we want to bring in to the society. We can't just wait for others to bring that in. Thank you so much. It was very, very informative for all of us. And before proceeding to Q&A round, can I request all of us to unmute for a second and give a round of applause from Ms. Pagan and Ms. Dhankar, please? Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks so much. Yeah. Can I have to now request all of you to go back on mute, please? Sorry, that's my job, and I keep asking that. Okay, I would like to invite Dr. Anjali Quatra. She's the chairperson, philanthropist, and general secretary, Association of British Scholars in Delhi. Please take it up from here, please.
Good evening, everyone. It's my proud privilege to be a part of this very informative and exciting program. To introduce myself, I'm in the field of community-based disaster preparedness and emergency management, and I'm heading this NGO called Philanthrope, where we involve all the stakeholders in their own safety. And the most important part of it is the community itself, and of course, government and private organizations. And here again, the role of women is very important. Rather, the center of all the disaster suffering, and of course, their own role in handling them. I have got the training for all this from UK as well as from India. Though being a lecturer in Delhi University, after doing my PhD in medical anthropology from here, I got training in all these things from UK and several other institutes, especially the Emergency Planning College. And I'm really thankful for my education in Great Britain, because there's a lot of focus there on issues of safety as well as gender equality, which has given me a firm grounding. I'm here as the Secretary, Association of British Scholars. Now, Association of British Scholars is a national forum for the networking and exchange among Indians who have studied or trained in the UK. It's a very old, I would say now, an association which has been working to strengthen the Indo-UK relationship by harnessing resources, expertise, and potential of all the ABS chapters, which they are in the which exist in the all of India. The main aim of ABS is that your relationship with UK does not end with your studies, and in fact, it's a lifetime association. And in ABS, we partner with a British Council and do several events and activities aimed at making networks, helping people to have advantages from each other in their career development, in mentoring, and of course we do a lot of cultural activities as well, like free concerts, poetry readings, and intellectual events. It has been a great experience being part of ABS, and today I'm again very thankful to all the collaborators. On behalf of ABS, I really thank for such a great series that we are holding, this interactive series, to reach up to great orators like Ms. Kanishka Adhankar, whom I must congratulate for her brilliant talk today. I have started receiving questions, and that's my role today, to facilitate the question answer round. I've received one of the first questions which the audience is asking is that you come from a very cool industry, like the fashion industry. So what inspired you to choose, sustainability and gender equality as a focus area?
Well, I do come from a very cool industry, and I think that's been part of my learning and my growth. So I've had this platform where I've been free to develop as who I am. In the fashion industry, also women are celebrated, and I feel that I have been celebrated, and I've also been given a lot of opportunity to travel around the world, to live in other countries, and there I learned different ways of being. When you travel and live in Germany, they recycle everything. Or when you go to America, or you go to Europe and you go to the East, wherever you go, there are different practices in society depending on where you live. And I think through my journey, I have learned so much along the way that I just felt like I needed to give back. And I do believe that India has the potential to be great. We have everything in the making to be a great nation. I think the only thing we need is for education to empower everyone. And this is where I come in, and I'm trying to do my little bit, and I hope it will go a long way.
Well, Mrs. Kanishka, the gender imbalance and stereotyping that exists in the cinema world, this has received critical attention all over the world now. In fact, there's been a UNESCO report also on reshaping cultural policies, which says that women are underrepresented in its workforce, and they have less access to resources, and also they face substantial gender pay gaps. There's a lot of data cited in the report, which comes from Europe also, and it reveals that there are fewer women in the key creative positions like directing, and the number of women graduating from schools, film schools, is quite the same as men, but still the creative positions are still held by men in more majority. So what is your take on that?
See, we need to understand that the system has been one of patriarchy for so many years. All these roles were usually done by men. Things are starting to move and change now, and then you see women coming into these roles. But I think for patriarchy is perpetuated further if we don't change today. And it's just what the norm has been. Yes, there is a gender gap. Yes, there are lesser women in directors' positions, but I feel like that's all going to change. Again, the only solution to that is acknowledging the problem today, acknowledging that the problem exists, but being a man or a woman does not say that a man is more creative and a woman is less creative. So in terms of inequality, it exists. The system needs to change. More laws need to be put into place which include women in their society, which give them equal opportunities to study. But also, these changes need to be brought at a family level. Families need to support their girls. And I think that is the only way to move forward. Apart from government, apart from policies and law, men also need to be part of the movement. There are so many good men in the world. Men need to become part of the movement to also educate other men. And I feel like all of these things are the way to move forward. We can't hear you.
In our country, we can say that Bollywood is the reflection of our society. So when we have these stereotypes, sorry, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm saying that Bollywood is seen as a reflection of our society. And when we have these stereotype portrayals of women in movies, it further contributes to we can say rampant sexism in India. So be it fashion trends, be it family gatherings, or even journal perceptions, what we see is that films shape our thinking in a big way, and even a global audience. For them it is like a mirror, towards how we treat women in real life in our country. So seeing that, still see that filmmaking, is still concentrating, or maybe say a majority of them are still showing the same gender stereotype. uh, in fact, I would like to quote one of the actors, Victor Banerjee, what he said about Bollywood. It says that he says that Bollywood is a cancer. With Hindi commercial cinema has denigrated women. We owe a debt of ingratitude to Bollywood for having insidiously polluted our culture covertly. So this is really, very not
I
too
choose
far.
to, yeah, I choose to agree with him. I do choose to agree with him. I feel like culture, cinema, art has a lot to do with educating a population. And if we keep perpetuating the same stereotypes of men and women, then we keep educating an already uneducated population in the wrong way. We keep showing them the same stories that existed 100 years ago or 50 years ago, and we just make them in new forms and then we show them today. And I completely agree with you that it's just not helping. It's not helping educate the masses that we need to educate. Because the few of us that are here are educated. We are here because we feel for these issues. We know what the problem in society is. But how do you educate the masses? How do you educate a man who does not know where his next meal is going to come from? He's not interested in knowing what the right way to be is. He is just interested in feeding his belly and the belly of his hungry children. And then when you provide them some entertainment and you give them entertainment which is really based on sheer stereotypes and propagating the wrong messages in society, that's what they're going to learn. And I do believe that Bollywood is a massive platform to be able to educate the population.
Yeah. So again, you coming from industry, both fashion and film, they're very dynamic, and there's a lot of diversity also. Can you also share some experiences, your own experiences, which were, you can say, mounted to gender bias?
Fortunately, I have none. Because what happens with the fashion industry is it's very women focused. In fact, I would say that maybe it's actually men who receive more gender biases in the fashion industry because their roles are so limited and there's probably not equal opportunity for men in the fashion industry. So in terms of gender biases in my profession, I would say there have been none. But yes, growing up in India as a woman, as a young girl, of course, you can't dress a certain way, you can't talk to someone. If you're polite to somebody on the street, he's just gonna take the wrong message. There's just been so many different ways that we as women in India have to grow up. Like walking down a street crowd full of men. The other day I was walking back home because I'd gone to buy vegetables with my mask on and everything, of course. But the only people I saw on the streets were men, male workers. And then it's so striking. It's so striking when, as a woman, you're walking on a street alone and you only see men workers. And then we wonder, why are the streets in Delhi unsafe? There is your answer to that. Because the lesser women we allow to be outside the house, the lesser we empower them, the lesser they will be out. And then the few of us who do venture out, we are suddenly at a threat of being, hurt if there is somebody who has that intention. So, I have to say that on a day-to-day basis, there are definitely problems and there's gender biases around us everywhere. But the question was about the industry, and I have to say, in a positive, throw some positive light on, the whole thing, that the fashion industry has been a space of a lot of openness. a lot of open-minded people.
That's great. That's heartening to listen. Can you also share some learnings which you had from your experience, which can be takeaway for those who are already either involved in the industry or who are aspiring to get involved with this industry?
I think what I've always said, and that I will also say today, is that it's really important to be yourself. Don't ever lose your identity to anything. I went to New York when I was 23 years old, I think, and for some reason, the first thing that I said to myself when I landed in New York was like, I will not lose myself to the industry. So no matter what happens along the way, whether I get a job or not, whether I make it or not, I will not lose my core to anything. And I feel like that is what has helped me make my mark in the industry. Because if I believe in myself, I can confidently perform at a job, which then makes me unique, because what I do, no one else can do. So I feel like that is the most important takeaway from my learning, is be true to yourself, honor yourself, honor those around you, and just be confident and learn and grow. And there's nothing that is lost. Even if I might not have got those 50 jobs in New York that I went, we have to go and audition a lot. We have to go for every audition. I used to audition 10 auditions a day, 7 days a week. At the end of the week, I got one call for one job. It doesn't matter, because every time that someone said no, it pushes you a bit further. And it's only human to feel bad, right? It's only human to feel bad. We all feel bad about so many things. That should not stop us from feeling confident or keeping to carry on. And that's another lesson that COVID has taught us. Nothing stops time. Nothing stops the world from moving. So why stop yourself? Be confident, find your balance, find your inner strength, and just deal with conflict with resilience. Learn to become resilient.
That's great learning that you're giving us. Ma'am, I would also like to ask your comments on the gender stereotyping which we see in Bollywood, in terms of some of the dialogues that we hear, which are outrightly derogatory for women. I've noted one from a movie called Jab We Met, which happens to be a blockbuster, Kareena Kapoor. And there they say, Akeli ladki khuli tijori ki tarah hoti hai. These kind of dialogues. Can something be done about it? Can people like you who have progressive views bring about a change in this? Because as we all know that these Bollywood productions, they are going to have a major impact on our thinking.
We can do something, but I think it will take more than one person. I feel that what we endorse is what we receive. Stop watching the films. I don't watch them. I have never been a consumer of Bollywood cinema ever since I was even a young child. Don't endorse them. Don't watch them. Why are Bollywood films making so much money? So we keep feeding it. We keep feeding this system, which keeps going in this loop and this cycle. So then if you want to be an evolved audience, you have to stop watching the films and supporting them. There can't be any other way, because unfortunately there is an audience for these movies. And me as an individual, or anyone for that matter, can't go and stop people from doing what they're doing. We can't go and stop a whole industry from making films. But how? So what is the solution to that then? If we stop endorsing them, if we stop watching them, if we stop contributing to their earnings, automatically the messages start changing. Also, there's so much other cinema available now with Netflix. There's so much good content. Content is available to consume unlimitedly. So if you want to then consume good content, then contribute to the good content and that cinema, because there are so many independent filmmakers who are trying to make good cinema that's educating young people, but no one watches them because there's not a famous personality involved. This is also another problem, that in India, because of religion, idol worship. Idol worship has taught people to idolize, and thus idolizing humans, right? So now we're idolizing the big names like Shah Rukh Khan or Salman Khan and these guys, and they're not bad people. They're just doing their job. But the masses see them on a big platform on television, and suddenly this one normal human being who's just human appears to be magical and grand, because they've been put on this grand stage. It is a human being who's playing a character in a movie. It's so simple. Tomorrow you could play a character in a movie, or anyone for that matter who's watching, or me. So it's important to understand that like how everything in Indian society is sort of, we're in a vicious circle, and we need to stop that vicious circle by endorsing what we believe in and helping those who are creating better cinema find a voice, find a platform. Trying to go after the big names and being like, you can't make the movie, it's not going to happen. The changes will come, but they'll come slowly, but they'll come over a period of time. So don't just next time just be like, oh yeah, I really like this actor, so I'm just going to go for his film anyway. That's not the way you bring about change. Then you stick to your, the sort of the role that you want to make and the stand that you want to take in society. Then don't watch it. Don't perpetuate it. That would be my best advice.
Excellent.
Hi, Anjali. We do have a question from the guest in the chat message box.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm seeing several of them, and I'm seeing a lot of praise of our great speaker today.
Oh yes.
Yeah, and I'm finding her her suggestion so wise. Seeing your young age, I mean, it's really commendable of you to give such wise suggestions to us. So I think I can also go ahead to asking this question that has come from the audience also on what can you suggest to a corporate, a company to do more in the area of sustainability through gender equality?
Sustainability and gender equality, or separately?
Yeah, achieving sustainability through gender equality.
All right. I think that if I had to offer a suggestion, it would be really doing, really getting people together, breaking all the roles. People are working on a very hierarchical system, especially in India. Again, that comes down from our history. 200 years of being governed by the Britishers, it's just perpetuating again this hierarchical system that it continues. I think it's breaking all these roles and barriers, getting people that work together and sitting everyone down, taking them through a couple of slides, bringing interesting people into the conversation, throwing some facts and figures and being like, okay, if you do this, this is what happens. If you do this is what happens. Opening also dialogue between men and women, not being like women on one side, men on one side. I think the more we do that in India, the more it makes people feel like, oh, the other gender, like I can't be this way around them, or I can't talk this way around a man, or I can't be this way around a woman. It's like trying to break, trying to forget, trying to uncondition what we have been conditioned to be like today. So I feel like, again, it will take time, it will take education, but it would be maybe creating workshops with different leaders in the organization who people look up to, who people want to learn from, and just opening spaces for conversation, opening, spaces for learning apart from work, building dialogue with people. And that's what I would think. I mean, also, if you think about COVID, we've all learned so much. I don't think that any of us thought that people could stop working and the global economy would crash, and we all would have to sit at home for such a long period of time. And yet it happened. It happened. And companies had to relook at the way they do things. But if we could actually do this mindfully, Why are we being forced by nature to slow down? Why aren't we being mindful of how we are taking from nature, how we are using the limited resources we have on this planet? Why weren't we able to put a pause before such a big pandemic arrived? Right? And that those were the questions that were happening in my head before the pandemic. Why do companies not put a sustainable approach into the way they function? Okay, that's because all their systems are in place. Today I can't stop my production as company XYZ because all my systems will fall, all my people will suffer, my profits will suffer. I can't have that happen. But what did COVID do? It proved that it is possible. Yes, you face losses for a certain period of time, but how do you add longevity into the process? Today there was a pandemic like COVID, but if you think about it, maybe it's still not that bad. Imagine the next thing being a water crisis. Imagine being stuck at home and there's no running tap water, no water to drink, no water to wash your hands, no water to bathe, no water to flush. Then what are we going to do? And water is a limited resource. So why do, as human beings, we wait, we wait till we are at that point of suffering, until we have experienced the worst, and then we learn? Why do we do that to ourselves is the question. Why don't we choose how we want to do something? Why don't we choose to bring change? And it would be the same thing with taking sustainability or gender equality. Choose to do the right thing. Choose to go to uncomfortable places. Choose to speak up. Choose to bring about difference. Because only when we choose, we can bring about a change.
So, inspired by your talk, Ms. Kanishta, we have a guest, Nancy, who's asking you that what do you think can be done at an individual level to support and ensure women empowerment?
At an individual level, I would say that as a woman, support women around you. It could be as simple as the lady who comes to work at your home. Support her, pay her well, pay her more than what you are used to paying her. In India, we're used to paying the ladies that work at home 2, 3, 4,000 rupees. No one wants to increase their salary, right? This is the what I have learned along the way. This is what their salary is. Double it. What is 8,000 rupees? The lady that worked at my Bombay, for example, she only used to work for foreigners. She only used to work for expats. So when she came and she started working with me, she asked for double of what I used to pay the lady before. But after she started working in my house, I never once had to turn around and tell her, Didi, wo table hatao, uske piche dusting karo. Move the table and dust behind it. Because she was educated in a way where she wasn't trying to fleece you or just, do the work and just run off. She was happy to do the work she was doing. And so she wanted to perform. She wanted to be better. She wanted to grow because her child at home can go to school, to a better school, so that she can save some money and buy a little home for herself where her and her daughter can sleep safely. That goes a long way when you live in a country like India, where there's so many uneducated and poor people who are struggling to even eat a single meal. These are small things that we can do. Support the person immediately that whose life you can impact directly.
So several of our audience are asking a similar question, which Karishma Hussain is also asking, which is what, according to you, is the most effective way to address gender issues in a workplace?
My advice might be helpful or not. I don't know if it's going to be because I've never worked in a corporate setting. So you can take it or leave it. But I would say, as a woman, always speak up for yourself. Never be afraid to speak up for yourself. And that's how you also start making change. Today, you might not say anything, so it might it might feel okay for whoever behaves in a certain way to keep doing that with other women, you know. Or if you feel like there's a colleague, a male colleague who you feel is, you know, someone you can talk to or someone that could help you, go involve the men. I truly feel it's time to involve the men, you know, apart from just women. We keep trying to educate children and young girls to be a certain way, but I feel like we need to bring men and boys into the picture. I heard of this organization in Africa which actually does little plays and skits for young boys to show them what it looks like when a girl is being harassed. For example, Africa is a lot like India, right? There are lots of streets and there's a lot of crime against women. A girl is walking home alone. There are 5 boys on the street. Suddenly, we all don't know what happens to these boys because the moment they see a girl, they start whistling, they start eve teasing, blah, 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 blah. So they kind of imitate this scenario to show these boys, because they're young. Boys are also innocent when they're 14, 15. They don't know what's going on. They might just be like, oh, these boys are just playing around, they're fooling around. But there are certain incidences where, you know, it's very, very easy to tell what is the intention of someone. So these scenarios are created and young boys are told, hey, if this happens, if you see this happen, stop, turn around, look at that girl, make sure she crosses the street safely and gets to her home. It's so simple, you know. So this is an example of how you can get colleagues involved. You can speak to someone. Don't be afraid. You haven't done anything wrong. I think that's what a lot of women suffer from, a lot of guilt. Oh my God, did I do something? Will I lose my job? Will something happen? You know, I feel humiliated. I can't share this with anyone because it's such an embarrassing thing. There are so many feelings that are involved in this process. Address them. Courage, you know, have the courage, stand up.
That's great. Coming back to the film industry, Kanishta Thankar, can you please comment also on what's happening in the current scenario, what we're seeing on the television every day, and also the issues, being an insider, what is your perspective on what's happening, especially with Miss Kangana Ranaut there taking up the lead role in, you know, versus the rest of the Bollywood? What's your take as an insider?
You know, I have to correct you there. I'm not an insider at all. I am a complete outsider. I belong to the fashion industry and not the film industry. So I have no idea what's happening. Yes, we all see it on the news. It's very unfortunate that, you know, someone has killed themselves, and there has been so much news about it, and that his girlfriend is now being dragged into the whole process. Kangna is taking foreground because she obviously has a lot to say, and that is her personal journey. You know, she is sharing her story through another story because she is an outsider. I think if you simplify the whole thing, if you simplify the drama again, what is the crux of the story is that people are trying to be heard. You know, there have been lots of wrongs, and maybe for Kangna, maybe, I don't know, I have no idea. Maybe for her, she is trying to share her story via his story, you know. So I would be absolutely the wrong person to comment on what's happening in the news, in Bollywood. I have no answer for that, unfortunately. So I don't know what to say. Sorry to disappoint you there.
No, it's perfectly okay. I would request Mr. Pankaj, if you can just see if we can find some common thread in the questions. Maybe can you ask a question, because I'm not able to see my chat properly here.
I think so, Anjali. We have kind of addressed almost all the questions, and the rest of the question I kind of see as synonym to the previous ones. So thank you so much for taking this up, and thank you so much, Kanishta, for actually bringing across such insightful thought process to bring this change. And I'm sure with series like these, change is coming. With people on board who I see on my screen, change is coming. There's no doubt about it. And I think so we can end our question and answer out here, Anjali, because we have almost answered everything. And to that note, let me introduce Ms. Sehra Hassan. Ms. Sehra Hassan is the country head, Confederation of British Industry, managing country operations of a global trade organization that's specializing in leading business policy advocacy through engagement. That's Ms. Hassan for you. Wow. And if Ms. Hassan, I can hand over the mic to you to take it up from here.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Pankaj. Am I audible to everyone?
Very clear, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Oh wow, what a session this has been, and I'm so glad that I am doing the closing remarks, because whatever has been said is personally very close to my heart, and my organization, the CBI of the UK, not of India, but of the UK, we stand committed to diversity and inclusion at every level. Definitely, COVID has given us the opportunity to pause and reflect. What's gone wrong with this world? And how can we build it better? And if we have to build it better, what about 50% of the population that was always ignored? So that's where we come in. And it's still, there's a lot of work to be done. And when Kanishta started her presentation about the data about, women losing jobs and 8% of the GDP being lopped off, about only 25% women being part of the labor force. These trends are not only disturbing, but they are also heartbreaking. And each of us, with the empathy in our heart, have to see and feel really, wonder what have we done wrong so far. So it's now time to take back control. And also there is this glaring statistic about India being the most dangerous country for women. All kinds of things happen here, whether it's rapes or domestic violence or sexual harassment. The Me Too campaign is just a flash in the pan. We need to do more. We have to change. And I completely agree with Kanishta when she says women must uplift women, and also we need to get the men into the conversation. These two things are actually, that's where we start. And like Mother Teresa said, give till it hurts. So women, powerful women, should be lifting other women. It's not a competition anymore. It is the men who make the women compete with each other, and more often than not, because women are powerless, they fall into that trap. But it's time to take back control, and it's time to collaborate, not compete. So with these few thoughts, which are really serious and which actually affect everybody's future, I would like to also mention that I am the founder convener of the first ever UK India Women's Leadership Network, where we strive to create future workplaces without glass ceilings. So it's not a fight. You don't have to shatter the glass ceiling each time. Why can't organizations be built without glass ceilings? Which you don't need women, they have to grow naturally into those roles. Why should they have to fight for it? It's an entitlement which both men and women have on the basis of merit. So with these words, I'd like to thank the Association of British Scholars, the Chevening Alumni, the UK India Business Council, the British Business Group, Mr. Kalyan Bose. Thank you for giving the opportunity to have this thought-provoking session, and Astitva, Epic India. But last but not the least, the mover and shaker behind these series, Tarun Singhal, my dear friend. Thank you very much for moving mountains to get this thing all off the ground. And thank you very much. And with this, I'd like to close the session. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, all the speakers. What a session. I can't thank all of you enough. Kanishta, Anjali, Ms. Sehra Hassan, thank you so very much for being here. And as a wrap-up, I would like to thank again British Business Group and all the partners for their help and support, as always. And to all the attendees, we would love to hear from you. You can fill in the feedback forms and send it across to us. And with my folded hands, I'm just requesting to share this such a powerful session on your social media handles, because this needs to go out. Really want to bring the change, you need to create that, sitting out there and sharing this link. Thank you so very much. And also, I would like to talk about the next week, wherein we are coming up with a session on dark web and cyber security by Amit Dubey and Professor Trivedi Singh. Do log in, all of you. On that note, thank you so very much, everyone. Have a good weekend. Bye-bye.
Thank you.